Hi guys, let's go through our recent Bitcoin trade as a stop out, unfortunately, minus 44% on this one. So let's dive right into it. I've got the 1 hour chart up here and we'll go through the sequence of events leading up. So initially I was looking at this triangle pattern here for either continuation or a break to the downside. So we did get the break to the upside. This candle here, we closed out a pretty large breakout, and that candle happened in a matter of 2 or 3 minutes right at the close of the hour. So from there, it was too far of a breakout for us to enter along. It closed just below 12,000, and I wasn't really willing to trade through 12,000, and also not enough risk reward up to 12,400, which was the previous high. So these are just lower time frame resistance levels, so they're not overly strong. They're not there on the daily so much, but they are areas that need caution. So we did pause and consolidate just under 12,000 for a little while before breaking through. So what I wanted to see then was a breakout of the previous high, 12,400. As you can see here, break, retest, rejection with these huge wicks, and then a break and retest again. So there's quite a few levels of support resistance there just recently, and I wanted to make sure we cleared that before we went through and got into a long position. So we did close out, we did break out, nice candle, nice momentum, and we set our orders just below the close of that candle, waiting for a slight pullback. And we did get the pullback. We actually got a really nice, beautiful break and retest of around 12,300, 12,400 area. So any entry here is really good. That's resistance now turned support. And then we got some momentum to the upside, which was really good. We did stall at 13,200, and then there's not a huge amount of resistance at this level, so there's no real cause to close the trade here. So once we had that momentum, the next level of resistance was our previous high. There is a little bit at 13,200, so lower time frames, it's something that could have been considered. But what I didn't see at the time and developed late in that run was actually a rising wedge. So this one actually played out, and to break to the downside of this rising wedge could have seen quite easily another retest of 12,500, 12,400 area. Now, we had our stop loss at 11,400. So for us to stop out of this trade, price needed to break this trend line, this EMA, these two horizontal support levels, this trend line, and 1, 2, 3 fib levels. So there's a large amount of support behind our trade entry here, and it just plowed straight through. So having a trade with this much support within your stop zone is great. It's excellent. It gives you much higher probability of your trade working out. And as you can see, we had what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Probably 7 hours, 7 levels of possible support for the trade, and possibly one level of resistance to the upside. So as you can see, if you play these odds continually over and over, you're going to probably have more winners than losers. This rising wedge played out, and there are a few other factors that's whether it's coincidental or not, we don't know. Binance opened their margin trading around this level here. Now this initial dump here, is a coincidence that some insiders got in early, some whales just dumped? Who knows, I don't know, but that run is pretty extended, so it was possible for a pullback, but that big sell-off, who knows, maybe it was just triggered a heap of stops at certain levels and it just avalanched the price action. We nearly did pause at the 0.6 fib. We did for a while, rejected it there, but the momentum to the downside was too strong. That little pullback around this area, I believe, is where Binance opened the margin trading, and down we went. We continued to the downside. So unfortunately, we stopped out of that one. What was good about the trade? The good thing about the trade was we had so many levels of support in our stop zone. What was bad about the trade? I left my stop where it was, and I knew that we were pretty extended in the run, so we could have got a deeper pullback, and I was eyeing off this trend line and 12,400 for a possible pullback before continuing higher, but we definitely went lower. So what we could have actually probably done was be a little bit stricter and tighter on our stop loss. That would have maybe halved our loss on the trade, but considering the momentum on the price action on the higher time frames, I just wanted to give it a bit of room to breathe. So, that's probably a little tiny tweak that could have helped us out on that one. The trade entry, I was pretty happy with the trade entry. It was very good. That rising wedge, as I said, there's no need to close the trade until it broke out. And it broke out with a huge candle. So if we had closed it, we would have been closing it here at about 12,500. But as you can see, it's actually a support zone. And we got that low test candle there, which it did try to hold price for a little while, but failed to the downside. So a few factors there on this trade. It was interesting, not just TA based, but the Binance factor as well. That might just be my opinion, may not have had an impact at all whatsoever, but there it is. That's the trade. That's the 1 hour time frame. That's where it all happened. And let's look moving forward what's going to happen from here. This is the 4 hour. So it's very interesting that that's only the second touch now. So that trend line's not confirmed. But this trend line here, we've got 2 rejections, now a break and support. So pretty important price level here to see if we pull back. And I think we probably will. So we'll look at a fib pullback, 0.3, 0.5, and this resistance zone now here. So price could easily pull back to about 12,000 before heading lower, if in fact that trend line is not valid and it breaks. We've got our first lower high for a long time. On the daily, that is. This is just the 4 hour, but the daily confirms that lower high as well. So it's not a trend change on the daily yet, because we're still making higher lows, and if we make a low here before our next run, we are still in a higher low situation. So this pullback here, it's very important that we close above this level for our bullish run to start. If we do make a new low around this area and start heading down, I'll be looking personally for shorts from about 12,000, 12,500 to take it back to 10,000. So that's my bearish bias on it, but there could also be a bullish bias. So I'm just on the sidelines for now, because either situation could play out. The probabilities either way aren't overly clear. I'll get rid of this fib now. So this could just be a larger continuation pattern in the whole scheme of things on the daily. So breaking 12,500 is pretty important, because that will also break this trend line. It'll break the previous high, and then we'll possibly look at 14,000, which is the initial target I was looking for this trade. We didn't quite get there, unfortunately, on this occasion. So moving forward, I haven't got a bias either way yet. I want to see how this trades out, plays out rather, and then we'll look for entries from there. So probably the next couple of days there won't be too much in the way of trades for Bitcoin. That's it for the analysis on BTC and the trade recap. I'll go into some more details in a couple of days. I'll do another overall market recap, but just for now, just letting it play out to see if we get a bigger pullback. Let me just clean up these lines a little bit for you. So this one here is still valid. Let's take him over. Yeah, look at that line. That's pretty nice. So 1, 2, 3, 4 rejections before a big break, and now we come back to retest. So a long from this region would have been good. I wasn't game enough to do it based on that momentum to the downside, but it looks like we're going to get our pullback now. Let's do some fibs, top to bottom. So yeah, a 0.5 rejection and a 12k rejection would be pretty good. As you know, I do like using the EMAs a lot for break and retest purposes, but they have to be they're dynamic support and resistance. So what that means is they're like a trend line, but they're moving. But as you can see, prices just chop straight through the EMAs a lot of recent times. So using them as support and resistance isn't really valid at the moment. So I'm not using the EMAs, so to speak, in the next coming moves until they can start to get respected a lot better. Like as you can see here, the 50 EMA has been respected beautifully, really nice. But here, it's just chopped straight through. So I'm not looking for EMAs as any sort of assistance to my TA moving forward. Horizontal lines and fib levels will be what I'm looking at next. So that's it, guys. A little bit of patience. We could easily drop and continue down to 10k from here. But yeah, I'm anticipating a pullback for now. So let it play out. We'll see what happens.